Hello everyone, it's Friday, June 5th. Thanks for joining me here for 3 News Now, your afternoon update, where we cover everything that's topping the headlines on WKYC.com, and you can also find all of this information in our WKYC app, which if you have not already downloaded, I recommend that you do that so that you can keep up to date on everything that's happening. You can get push notifications and have all of these stories right at your fingertips in case you want to read into anything more about the things that we talk about here today. At 2 p.m. each day, we get the updated numbers from the Ohio Department of Health related to COVID-19 here in Ohio. We do have good news about those numbers today. We'll break those down for you. While hospitalizations are up, the rest of the numbers are down from yesterday. So the new daily reported hospitalizations reported in the last 24 hours are up from what we saw yesterday at this time, but the number of new cases, the number of new deaths, and the number of new reported ICU admissions are all down for today. Let's go ahead and jump into those numbers right now to break them down for you. The total number of new cases reported today of COVID-19, these are both confirmed positive tests and also probable tests under that expanded CDC definition that we have been using for quite some time, is 476. That's down from yesterday when we saw 490. So that's 1 day of decrease so far. Now, as a reminder, the reason that we look at these numbers every day is because we are looking for a 14-day trend so that we can identify, according to medical experts, a downward trend in what's happening with COVID-19 here in the state of Ohio. Our total number of cases that have been reported, which dates all the way back to March 9th when we first learned of COVID-19 being here in Ohio, is now 37,758. The total number of deaths is down today, and significantly down today, by the way. There have been 16 new deaths reported today related to COVID-19. That's down from yesterday when there were 40 new reported deaths. So this is actually the third day in a row when we've seen the number of new reported deaths down. We had 52 new reported deaths on Tuesday. That was an up point. So from there, we had 41 on Wednesday, 40 on Thursday, and now 16 today, bringing that total number in Ohio dating all the way back to March 9th to now 2,355 people who have lost their lives from COVID-19 here in the state of Ohio. Now, the hospitalizations is where we are up today. There have been 73 new reported hospitalizations in the last 24 hours. That is up from yesterday when we saw 61 new reported hospitalizations, bringing our total number of hospitalizations here in Ohio, again dating all the way back to March 9th, to 6,385. The ICU admissions is down today. There's a total of 9 new ICU admissions reported today in the state of Ohio. That's down from yesterday when we saw 19 new ICU admissions. That's also down from Wednesday when there were 21 new ICU admissions. So we are now at 2 days in a row of ICU admissions dropping from the day before, bringing our total number of ICU admissions related to COVID-19 here in the state of Ohio, dating all the way back to March 9th, to now 1,632. Let's take a look at the U.S. numbers and the global numbers to give you an idea of where we stand there. The total number of reported cases, known cases of COVID-19 across the U.S. is now 1,881,000 roughly. And the total number of deaths across the U.S. related to COVID-19 is now 108,496. If we look at that in terms of what's happening globally, the U.S. has about 28% of the known cases and about 28% of the known deaths related to COVID-19. Globally, the cases are now numbering 6,695,000 total, roughly, and the total number of deaths globally is now at 392,940. Let's talk now about the incidents that happened over the past week while people were protesting the death of George Floyd. As a reminder, George Floyd passed away on Monday, May 25th. That was Memorial Day, while a police officer who has now been fired in Minneapolis and is now facing second-degree murder charges, Derek Chauvin, kneeled on his neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. That's who we're talking about, and that's why we're having the conversations that we're having about these things. So the FBI has announced that there have been 2 arrests related to last Saturday's protest when there were violence and acts of vandalism that took place. 2 men are now facing federal charges connected to last weekend's downtown Cleveland demonstrations. It started as a peaceful protest, and then things escalated where some people did engage in acts of violence and vandalism. So the people arrested were identified this morning as Brandon Althoff Long and Devin Bryce Poland. Both of those men are in their early 20s. FBI Special Agent in Charge Eric Smith said this: last Saturday, just 6 days before today's arrests, these two individuals discussed, planned, and traveled to our city with the explicit intent to destroy and incite violence. These are not Cleveland City residents, by the way. Smith continued to say these two were detained by the Cleveland Police Department in downtown Cleveland during restricted curfew hours. Their vehicle was searched. Items found in the vehicle included a firearm, numerous rounds of ammunition, fire gel, and a hammer, among other items. Smith said that a federal search warrant was obtained for the two Apple iPhones during the investigation, and messages between the two suspects were reviewed. And according to police, their sole aim was to fan the flames of rioters, because here is a quote from their messages between each other, according to Special Agent in Charge Eric Smith from the FBI, quote, "It's a once-in-a-lifetime thing." Those two now facing charges, federal charges. Here in Cleveland, police have arrested 5 people who attempted to get into Progressive Field during last week's protest. Apparently, they weren't the only people to try and target the Cleveland Indians. However, Police Chief Calvin Williams said that all 5 individuals, also not from the city of Cleveland. The arrest of those individuals comes as the city of Cleveland continues to investigate and seek charges against people who escalated last weekend's protest into vandalism and also acts of violence. Cuyahoga County Board of Health Director is now discussing racism, saying that, quote, "silence and inaction are not options." Dr. Heidi Gullett, who is the Cuyahoga County Board of Health Medical Director, she posted an emotional statement today dealing with racism and white privilege. Here is what she had to say. These are quotes from Dr. Gullett. "The time is now to use your voice, your privilege, and your power for real change. This is not a matter of right or left along the political spectrum. This is a matter of our shared humanity." Dr. Gullett went on to say, "I often hear from individuals when we have these discussions of race who are white who say that their lives have been hard, and that's truth. But this conversation about racism in no way invalidates your experience of struggle in poverty or in other difficult circumstances. But what those of us who are white need to understand is our struggles are not made more difficult by the color of our skin." In creating this conversation and opening this dialogue, Gullett is urging people in Northeast Ohio to recognize privilege and to take action against racism in whatever ways they can. This can be through signing petitions, reaching out to local officials, or being part of the solution rather than the problem. That's all according to Gullett. Experts have been recommending resources for people who want to get educated about racism. One common statement that's being made among experts in this field is that it's not enough to not be racist. You have to actively be anti-racist. And one thing that's being recommended is that people who are not people of color educate themselves on the situation. So here are a couple resources that have been mentioned by multiple experts. There is a book by Robin DiAngelo. This book is called White Fragility: Why It's So Hard for White People to Talk About Racism. Here are another couple of books. This is by an author who is a person of color. His name is Ibram X. Kendi, and books that he has out already are called Stamped, Racism, Anti-Racism, and You, and then another book called How to Be an Anti-Racist. And it's a big topic of conversation right now about how to talk about race with your children. That author, Ibram X. Kendi, also has a new book coming out called Antiracist Baby. That's coming out on June 16th. That idea is to introduce young readers and the grown-ups in their lives to the concept and the power of anti-racism, taking actionable steps to combat racism versus simply not being racist yourself. One of the pillars in our community, Cleveland Cavalier Kevin Love, is making changes to his charity in order to address inequality and racism. So the Kevin Love Fund, which many of us are already familiar with, that aims to promote emotional and physical well-being, particularly with a focus on mental health, which is something that Kevin Love has been incredibly outspoken about, sharing his struggles with anxiety. And the organization was founded in 2018. So now he is making new adjustments to the mission of that organization, and he'll be incorporating services and information to help people who deal with traumas caused specifically by inequality and racism. Here's a statement that he put out, and I want to read it because the words are very powerful. I want you to hear the direct words from Kevin Love. Here is what he said. A valued member of my team, who I also consider a friend, said to me recently, as an African American woman, the information you're putting out there just doesn't resonate with me. Deep breaths don't help with racial trauma. And she was right. I need to do better. Our work and resources need to explicitly address the challenges and trauma caused by inequality and racism. I know I need to make changes to my own organization and will do so immediately. We will start by creating a diverse advisory board to guide our work. We will partner with grassroots organizations that need our help most right now, and we will work alongside BIPOC licensed therapists and stand alongside communities of people that have been treated so unjustly for far too long. That's the end of Love statements right there. The Kevin Love Fund will also be donating 2 $100,000 grants. One of those will go to the Chris Paul Family Foundation. That organization works to positively impact individuals and families by leveling the playing field in education, sports, and life. And another $100,000 grant will go to the Obama Foundation, which of course has been founded by former President Barack Obama and former First Lady Michelle Obama. And that aim is to inspire, empower, and connect people to change their world. So in talking about these changes that Kevin Love will be making to the Love Foundation, he brought up some advice that he got from Barack Obama himself. This was during NBA All-Star Weekend in Chicago in February. Obama told Kevin Love, "Be a little more public. Set an example for the people." So Kevin Love is taking that advice, and he is doing just that with his Kevin Love Fund. That's it for your afternoon update for 3 News Now here for Friday, June 5th. Governor Mike DeWine's press conference is in process right now. You can find that on our Facebook page and also on our YouTube page, as well as WKYC.com and in the WKYC app, which is another great reason to download the WKYC app. Lots of our live streaming happens right there in the app. It's very easy to access. You can take it with you on the go. You don't have to be hunting around through Facebook pages and that kind of thing as well. Next up, we will have What's New today at 5 p.m. I'll see you there with the stories that are clicking in Cleveland, as well as your daily entertainment news pop break. And we'll have more for you on What Matters Most at 6 p.m., on Front Row at 7 p.m., and What's Next at 11 p.m. And then I'll be back here with you at 11 a.m. on Monday. I hope everyone has a wonderful afternoon. You have a great weekend, and I'll see you back here next week. I'm Stephanie Haney.